What is up, everybody? RLTK podcast. Jordan here, kicking it with Chris. Chris, what's going on, my boy?
What's up, man?
Well, finally figured out how to zoom out a camera, so the shot looks a little bit wider.
Yeah.
So I just decided to mess with it before we started shooting. I was like, oh, this thing zooms out. That's how you know that
Hey,
we
man.
rookies.
Hey, man.
We rookies.
Hey, fact.
But it's progress, right? Slow
Progress.
So a little bit of progress here today. Getting that shot a little bit wider. We'll keep this thing going. We'll keep the show on the road. We'll keep getting better.
Yes, sir.
And hopefully you guys will keep journeying with us. So,
yes, sir.
Anyways, we're not going to talk about the Cowboys today because we're out of season.
Oh, we ain't got to talk about Cowboys.
Yeah, ain't no point talking about the Cowboys. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We'll leave that going. Hey, we got our coffee today. You know what I'm saying?
About the Cowboys
we got our makeshift stand right here.
Yeah.
We coming up. We upgrading.
Hey, we got to.
But anyways, all right, Chris. So I know that we last time, should I say, 2 weeks ago, got into some interesting stuff about language. So what we diving into today?
It's well, today we're gonna talk about culture.
Okay.
I think culture is interesting. I don't know if language. Now I'm going there. I don't know if language leads to culture, but language plays a very big part in how culture is built.
I would argue it's an essential part of how culture is developed, because how do you communicate culture without language? You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I was thinking in a sense of struggle.
Is language... Okay, hold on. You're going to have to explain that. Okay. You can't just say stuff like that.
I just meant, like, in a sense, how is culture created? It seems though culture is created through suffering and war and things of that nature.
Yeah, because we were having this conversation yesterday.
Yeah.
When we were talking about Chinese food.
Yeah. And it was interesting, right? Because we ate some Jamaican food yesterday.
Yeah, it was fire.
And that sucker
Shout out to Ocho Rios.
Gosh,
that
sucker was
up here in Phoenix.
It blew my mind. Smacked. And I realized that eating other Black people's, how do I say this?
I am politically correct one.
I know, right? Well, I'm just gonna say it. I mean, that's me. I am a African American man, right? America.
Yes, you are,
right? So, born in low income class neighborhood, and so my idea of culture is not the same as my other brothers and sisters across the world.
Facts.
And so when I eat their food, it made me think, like, man, did my neighborhood really have a culture? You know, in the sense of, Black people culture in America.
Yeah, I mean,
it's pretty interesting.
I would say, yeah. I think it looks different.
Look, it's way different.
I think not to get into, kind of to get into it.
It's kind of like
to get into the race conversation a little bit. I think so. Like, as we're totally like rabbit trailing here, but it's all good.
Yeah,
totally. Like, as a Black person who's from the UK, right? One of the things that I've noticed is there seems to be this loss of identity for the African American that I didn't experience, right? Because I was still connected to my family from the Caribbean islands, right? And so it's completely different for me because I still feel connected to my cousins and my aunts and the family that went before me in Antigua, in St. Thomas, in St. Kitts, in those places, right? Whereas for the African Americans that find themselves here, they have no connection to the homeland.
Yeah.
Right. And then, like, they don't feel connected to the land that they currently live in either.
Yeah.
Right. And so I think that plays a part in perhaps it feeling like there isn't a culture, but I think there is. And it makes me think of like the rise of hip hop. And like what it originally was for before it was commercialized and monetized, right? Which was this expression of suffering, right, in the urban context, to make people aware of what was actually transpiring in those places and spaces, right?
Yes.
And so what happened was that, like, a ton of people were paying attention to it, and then eventually, capitalism got its hands on it.
Yeah.
Made it what it is today.
Yeah.
And once again, that's not me saying capitalism's bad. That's just me saying it is what it is.
Yeah.
Capitalism is what it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Facts. Yeah. And so it made me think about that, man. It's another trail down the road, but it just back to the conversation about in a sense of communication, right? I think when it comes to foods and aesthetics and laughter, things of that nature, beliefs, traditions, right? All this, if this is what creates a culture, then this is something that Gen Z also possesses, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
They also possess language. They also
100%.
possess they also possess a certain aesthetics, which is still to this day, they're teaching me so much about aesthetics. It's a variety of things, but it's their
shameless plug, by the way. If you're a youth pastor, we created a series called Aesthetics this year.
Oh,
Reframe Youth, go grab it.
Fire.
It's all about aesthetics.
Fire. And it seems like, man, we can talk about this a little bit, that they have their own little traditions and things.
Well, I think this plays into the idea of culture, right?
Yeah.
And like what culture actually is. Because I was like, before we got on here, I was like looking up cultural definitions and stuff. And it's like, there's different definitions, but basically it's the art, music, language, like the food, the things that, like, culture always feels like it's hard to grab your hands around exactly what it is.
Yeah.
But you know that you kind of swim in it.
Yeah.
Right. And once again, it's the language you speak, the food you eat, it's the way you say things, it's how you conduct yourself, it's how you move in certain social settings, for what reasons, the types of clothes you wear. It's all those things coming together, right? Like those things kind of define and shape the culture of a particular place and time.
Yeah.
And then like that group of people like kind of share that culture, right? And they understand it together. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so like there's things that we fundamentally understand. Like, I mean, you could argue that we have a culture in this house. You know what I mean? Like there's certain things we do, there's certain expectations we have. Like, when you empty the coffee pot, you should be the one to fill it.
First of all, that's that was a rule that I wasn't made aware of.
Yeah, whatever.
And I want to hear that. If you want to bring it up, we're gonna talk about it.
Yeah, all I'm saying.
No. What I'm saying is right here, right now. What I'm saying is, if the grease is hot and the chicken is battered, it is your responsibility, okay, to make sure that it puts in there. It doesn't matter who puts it in. Just make sure it gets cooked. Same thing, okay, with the coffee pot. All I'm saying is sometimes we drink a lot of coffee in this house. We drink it close to the normal amount of water. That's how much coffee we drink here.
Drink a lot of coffee.
I drink a pot before I go to bed. That's not the point. What I'm saying is that if you see it,
pray for Chris.
If you see that it's empty, fill it up. Okay.
Okay, wait.
That's all I'm saying.
So you're saying on the podcast now that's a rule? Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm explaining.
I'm holding you accountable, bro.
Nope. No, what I'm saying is that this is for everybody now.
Okay. So you're making a prescription.
And first of all, you don't even do it yourself.
What?
Thank you very much.
What are
you don't even do it yourself.
Hold on.
Nah, okay.
All right, go ahead. I'm gonna let you finish.
All I'm saying is that you make the first pot, cool. But don't sit here and act like you drank the pot and then don't remake it again.
I do.
No, you do not.
Wait, hold on. And
Father,
hey,
lead him.
First of all,
trust him.
If I want to find you, all I got to do is put coffee on, and then you just appear. Like I'll be calling Chris, texting Chris, can't find him. Let me put some coffee on, like Aladdin. Put some coffee on, you just appear.
This is true.
And what I'm talking about is you that dude who. Okay, so here's the pet peeve for me. You ready? Okay, so if I put a pot of coffee, let me get the first cup, bro.
Okay.
Do you guys think that's fair?
No.
If I put the coffee pot on, shouldn't I get the first cup?
No.
What do you mean? That's like, bro, that's like you buying, that's like you buying your favorite candy and me opening it and eating the first one. That's like a no, bro. You can't do that. You got to wait. Once dude gets the first couple, then you good, bro. Go ahead. But you can't open it and then start eating it, you know I'm right. That's why you stuck right now.
Nah, I'm not stuck.
You
said if I bought it. No. You said it. Ooh, you lucky we doing this. Nah, you ain't making no point in sliding like that. What I'm saying is that you said if I bought it. This is a communal thing. A communal thing, my G. Bro, this is different. Listen. Nah, this is a different conversation. This is a communal thing versus something that I bought and then voluntarily share with other people.
No, bro.
I bring coffee to the cribbo because it's a communal thing. If I buy candy,
it's all communal.
Oh, okay. Really?
No.
I'm hold you accountable to that.
Okay. Anyways, back to culture.
Sorry.
This is our culture, by the way.
It is.
Ladies and gentlemen.
We argue a lot.
We do.
We argue a lot.
But yeah, Gen Z's culture.
Okay. Where do we leave off at?
We're talking about Gen Z's culture?
Their traditions.
Yes.
We was talking about their traditions.
Yeah. And I mentioned you're not filling up a coffee pot, but that's neither here nor there.
Yeah, it's not neither here. It's neither here or there. Just be hating, bro. Just hating, bro. But like, okay, I did like what you said, something that we do things that reflects things. So I do want to hop in this conversation. What do you think that Gen Z's culture reflects? Because it has to reflect something. So like in a sense of like we was talking about the Black community in America, like we're not connected to the homeland and to some degree,
that's where the
right?
loss of identity comes from, for sure.
And so I think like we kind of reflected what we was going through, right? And we kind of built something out of that.
And I would argue they're reflecting a loss of identity too, just in a different way.
In a sense of meaninglessness?
Yes.
What do you mean by that?
So
interesting.
I mean, to me, it comes back to the isms, right? So it comes back to postmodernism. It comes back to relativism. It comes back to like all those isms.
Existentialism,
yeah, all those isms, empiricism that are kind of shaping the way Gen Z views the world, whether it be through them actually learning what those things are or just being shaped by the form of those things and the praxis of those things in our society. You know, like just the practicalities of how the world is designed. Like, you know, like I think one of the most transformative things, I say transformative, one of the most eye-opening things for me as an adult was when I took this trip and there was this like Christian businessman who had built this community. And like he had built this community with a really high level of intentionality. And like one of the things he'd done is he put sidewalks in and then he put front porches on all of the houses so that like the neighbors would be forced to interact with each other because they'd walk past each other in the neighborhood. But then also one of the things I thought was interesting is like he attempted to make all the houses look the same size too. So that like it doesn't look like anybody has necessarily more than anybody else, even though some of the houses are bigger, they just don't look bigger. I think they built them into the ground or something as opposed to building them up. Yeah. So it's really interesting. But like I think about our neighborhood, right? Like it's easy for you to literally never interact with your neighbor. I can drive up to my house, I can open my garage, drive in, close the door. I can never know my neighbor's name. And be totally okay with that. And like a lot of us live in communities and contexts where we don't know our neighbors' names. You know, I mean, there's a lot of people out there that do, obviously. But I think once again, that's part of the design of our society and like how some of these things are shaping us unbeknownst to us. Like, what are the rhythms that we naturally kind of fall into based on the way things are designed?
Right? Yeah, that's true.
So I think that's true for Gen Z. There's natural rhythms that they're falling into based on the way things are designed, like for them.
That's a good point.
And so like, you know, I like technology is the easy one to hit, but I think it's also the most significant one. Like we all know it has implications for the way that we're living, even more so for the way that they're living because they were raised on it in a way that we weren't, right? And so it's shaping them in ways that we're still trying to figure out exactly what all that stuff means. And then on top of that, I think to the conversation we were having earlier before we started, I think also it's changed the way discipleship happens. It's changed the
Mm.
way spiritual formation happens. It's changed the way
Mm.
people understand their faith. It makes me think of this kid that I met at a youth group a couple years ago. Really like cool kid, football player at a local high school. We were just kind of chopping it up. He'd recently like plugged into that church and like became a Christian. And I was like, cool, bro. Tell me your story. Like, what happened? He was like, basically, I was like, having bad relationships at home, doing a bunch of stuff, had like a come to Jesus conversation with like a family member, and then decided like, yo, I got to get my life together. And so basically just started researching religion on YouTube, and then like bounced around, downloaded the YouVersion app, started watching a bunch of pastors online, and then like basically just picked a church and went to that one and started going.
Mm.
And so like it was this really individualized process, right? Where this kid basically privately on his phone figures out like stuff about Christianity based on what he's seeing online, decides he's going to follow Jesus, and picks a church to go to all by himself and starts going.
That's crazy.
That's weird.
That's crazy.
That's weird. Like that's what it
crazy.
is. Like I haven't heard many stories like that, but I feel like
That's
more of
technology
those
for you.
stories are going to start happening. And then when you think about
Agreed.
funnels and all those different types of things and how people intentionally design things to move you in a particular direction,
Yeah.
you got to think about that in the context of business, trying to build a curriculum company,
Yeah.
you know, all those different types of things. Like you intentionally design these pathways for people to walk down and like make decisions, right, with you as a company, and then eventually convert, whether that be to purchase or whatever. And so I think about that in the context of the content creation world. And so I think it makes Christian content creators very important. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I think it really is an opportunity to disciple people, maybe not in a conventional, traditional way, right? That we're used to, which is like you're next to someone, you touch them, you know, you hang out, all those different types of things. But I think there are people out there that really are discipling people through YouTube, through Instagram, through I mean, there's tons of stuff that I see on there is encouraging to my faith and discouraging to my faith, you know? And so I think for us, it can have those impact, it can impact us in that way, then for them even more so, right?
Yeah.
Because like that's the world they live in.
I agree with that. I think to add a little bit more to that, because I agreed in the sense like because I do get on social media when I'm on YouTube or something like that, I'm rolling through some shorts. You know, I see some Christians on there encouraging you with some scriptures and stuff like that. And I was like, dude, I really need that, you know. And then, then I do think about the Gen Zer who is searching for truth through social media, which is interesting because it brings me back to the idea of social constructivism, which is the idea of knowledge is gained through the relationship of society. And so like the nature of that is the nature you're speaking about, you know, like trying to find truth in this social or artificial social world, trying to find understanding and meaning and identity, like all these things is where, and partially to a degree that may be, like a subconscious, I don't want to say that. Maybe in a sense like discipleship is it has to be personal though, you know? It cannot be, and I do agree in the sense like when you find Christians online telling Gen Zers what to do, or not telling them what to do, instructing them or encouraging them, or like they go to hear a sermon, it's limited. Like it can't go as far as personal contact, you know? I think that's something that we just can't get away from. I think to a degree this has to be used to be inside of an actual community, not an artificial community just online, you know, because like you was talking about the idea of the neighborhood, it reflects privacy. Privacy is very big in neighborhoods, right? And so like I think that's something that we have to really get down to when it comes to discipleship, is that you cannot escape being in someone's life personally. You know, you can, someone can call that old fashioned, someone can say it's unnecessary. But I think there's a difference between like the touch of the shoulder or a hug, you know, going to get coffee or going to get lunch, seeing someone face to face. There's a true intimacy there that the phone just can't do for you.
Yes,
You know,
I agree. But once again, does Gen Z care about that though?
I don't think it's about do they care about it. Because there are some things that you need that you necessarily don't care about.
That's fair.
And so it's not the fact if they care about it, it's the fact that they recognize it.
That's good. Yes,
You know,
absolutely. So that becomes part of our responsibility then as like influencers, right? Parents, pastors, teachers, coaches, people who are in their lives, is to help them recognize the importance of being in community in person with people.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's not like they don't hang out, you know, but
No,
it's
true. Absolutely.
what we're trying to do is connect with them in their culture. You know, that means we got to go to them, understand their world, their mind, things of that nature.
Yep. That's
And
good.
also understand this is that they may not take what you say and necessarily believe you because of the idea of knowledge comes by the relationship of society. So they seek other minds that claim to know something that is true or say something that is interesting. You know, this is why language is important, right? You can phrase a sentence so capturing it can bring an epiphany to your life, and that epiphany can be true or false, but it's people can do that, right? And so it's very hard to grab their attention, right? So I guess that's the next one. Like, how do you actually grab Gen Z's attention when there are people that can speak better than me, say things better than me, you know, or better aesthetics and better or they can cook better, they can, you know, like there's always somebody better. And when you're out here, you know, how can you grab their attention? Like, yo, but when it comes to the concerns of truth,
Yeah.
this is what you ought to consider.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Well, I think a few things. I think ultimately on some level, and I think that's a big question and a small question. So I'm going to answer it in two ways, because I think for the person listening who cares about young people, it can often feel like overwhelming in terms of, wow, there's all these influences on them. Why does what I do actually matter at all?
Yeah.
Right. And I would say it absolutely does. And I think God uses it.
Facts.
And so I think, you know, constantly throughout the text, throughout the scriptures, we see this idea of like the mustard seed, or, you know, this small beginning. You know, Zechariah 4:10, don't despise small beginnings. The irony of remembering that right now is funny. Chris, inside joke. Chris knows why I said that. But anyways, the point is, like, we have to trust that God is using it and working in ways that we can't see. This is funny. I was literally complaining about some stuff earlier. So anyways, God works in mysterious ways, or God works anyways. So, yeah, I think in that sense, we have to trust that God is at work in ways that we can't see. And I think that's also true, like, macro. So if you're like starting out a small org or a small business or whatever, I mean, like, you know, we're like, you know, a small thing that's growing slowly. We have to trust that God is using what we're doing and it is benefiting people. And I mean, we are hearing that it is benefiting people, you know, so you keep it moving and you trust. And that's like the crazy, wonderful thing about technology. Like, it has the capacity to spread your stuff to people all over the place. You know what I'm saying? So like, There could be people engaging with what it is that you're doing in different parts of the world. But once again, to shrink it back down to, the mom who's trying to engage with her son, or the pastor who's trying to engage with that kid in youth group that, just to keep it a stack, you don't like. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You're trusting that even though there are all these other influences on them, that the influence that you're having is going to win out, that incorruptible seed, that God's spirit and God's power is going to do something in them, show them something, reveal something, whether it be now or 10 years from now, that is going to transform their life in a way that's going to bring them closer to Christ. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so I think
It's true.
I think us doing what we do, and then Christians doing what they're responsible for doing, is incredibly important. Even more so now, because we live in a post-Christian culture, right? So you can't just, like, kids aren't going to get an understanding of Christianity through osmosis anymore.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, like, that was a thing. Like, it was Christianity was influencing a bunch of stuff 50, 100 years ago. And so you would kind of see it everywhere. That's just not the case anymore. You know what I mean? And so I think the cool thing about that is you have a clean slate to communicate the gospel in clear ways. And like, most kids haven't heard it before. It's just to keep it a buck.
It's true.
At least where we're living, right?
Yeah, it's true.
And so I think that's really cool. But I think it makes us, like, being a light, saying what needs to be said, creating content, putting things out there, trusting that God's using it, becomes even more important.
That's interesting that you said that. Like, a lot of them haven't really heard the gospel. Now, which is interesting to me, because they're on social media and they're searching, right? Like, and that's another thing. Like, we have to do better explaining what the gospel means, right?
Yeah.
And what that is.
But I mean, I think about it when I say that. I think about it not from the sense that there's not Christians out there trying to influence culture or put Christian culture out there. Because I know we say influence culture, but ultimately I think Christianity has its own culture. Right?
Yeah.
We've kind of talked about this. Yeah. Or at least I would probably put it this way. There's like the Western way of doing church that has a culture.
Yeah.
And in there somewhere is Jesus.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'd probably put it that way, a little bit more
specific.
specific.
That's fair. Yeah.
Right? Because there's a bunch of stuff we're doing that's like not Jesus.
Yeah.
And then there's stuff in there that's like, oh yeah, that's Christ. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And so I'd probably put it that way when I talk about it. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I'm not trying to. Yeah, I'm not trying to down anybody for what they're doing. I'm trying to, cause when I'm out, man, like, sometimes I feel it, man. Like, yo, you need to share the gospel, right? And it's like, and it's not even necessarily just Gen Z, just people in general. Some people just never actually really heard the gospel before, bro. Like, they never really,
Yes.
No one has really told them, creation, fall. No one's really told them about
the full story,
cross.
the narrative.
Exactly. No one's really told them that, man.
So when I'm saying that, because I lost my train of thought. When I'm saying that, what I'm saying is that I'm actually talking about it from a business perspective. So, like, the sheer magnitude of content that there is out there, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's so much information, entertainment, content creators, different types of genres to consume. Like, what percentage of that do you actually think is like Christian media or even religious media? You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, compared to the whole pie, it's going to be really small, right? And then, you go Christian media, right? It's going to be really small.
Yeah.
And so what I'm saying is, like, based on the sheer magnitude of stuff out there, what are the chances that the algorithm's going to feed you something that's Christian?
Yeah.
And what are the chances that the algorithm's going to feed you something that's Christian and actually, like, not trash? You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because those ain't the same thing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because there'd be some people out there that love Jesus that, like, probably shouldn't be on YouTube.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or, maybe they don't love you. I don't know. I'm not going to get into that right now.
Yeah.
But you get what I'm saying?
I do.
So I think based on that, sometimes it becomes like you're talking about, like, you know, kids bumping into that stuff in that space. I don't know how possible that is.
Yeah.
And I just think about the algorithm from my perspective. Like, all it takes is for you to search one thing, and next thing you know, you're down the rabbit hole.
Yeah.
And all it's feeding you is that. And sometimes it's annoying.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I'm just trying to look up this thing right now for one. Like, I just want to look at this thing right now for whatever reason. Like, I'm searching this particular news category or whatever. We're looking at this particular issue in culture. And then all of a sudden, now everything I'm getting is fixated on that issue, because the algorithm's like, okay, feed you more stuff pertaining to that. You know what I'm saying? And so, and then obviously it also depends on too, like, how many people are creating content on that. Like, so there's all these different types of variables and factors that contribute to, like, what's actually going to show up on your social feed that is very, like, very random, it feels like. I know it's not random.
Yeah.
Kind of.
It's, I don't,
you know what I mean?
The randomness is very low. But I think,
I guess the algorithm is incredibly sophisticated, so it feels random.
That's fair.
Maybe that's a better way of putting it.
That's fair. But I think when it comes to, because we're talking about Gen Z's culture, and I think a lot of this conversation is centered around technology. And I think I think technology is somewhat it's not a belief. It's not, language is found there. I don't necessarily know if it's a tradition.
Technology?
Yeah. I'm trying to find technology's place in Gen Z's culture, because it's literally
it's the medium.
Huh?
The medium. I would say it's the medium of culture.
Okay.
And in that sense, it is culture.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because, like, art communicates something, music communicates something.
Yeah.
But in of itself, it is culture. So culture, and that's why I'm saying, like, culture is kind of like, when you think about it, it's kind of like this weird thing to think about.
But yeah, it is. Yeah. But I think too, that's how we can impact Gen Z, is through technology.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean,
think on some level we have to take technological discipleship or formation,
because that's a good point.
Like, we have to take it more seriously. I don't know what that looks like.
Because technology, to a degree, is artistic, right? With the filters and all things you can do. Art is found there, music is found there, language is found there.
Yeah, it makes me think about the He Gets Us campaign.
Who?
So you remember that campaign, the people who paid for that those ads during the Super Bowl?
Oh yeah.
And, like, you know, people have been losing their minds over that, right?
Oh yeah. Really?
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah. Like, obviously there's really distinct sides on the conversation in terms of, like, hey, this is, like, a complete waste of money, blah blah blah. And then there's other people that are like, yo, this is dope, as always.
Yeah.
And so, like, as we're having this conversation, it makes me think about what they're trying to do, and it makes what they're trying to do make sense to me. Now, am I saying it's the right thing to do? I don't know. I don't know if, you know, because I'm pretty sure that Super Bowl ads were $7 million for 30 seconds this year or something like that.
Jesus. Or
maybe it was two or five, maybe seven.
Jeez.
Yeah. And so it's like, okay, if that's
a lot of money,
if that's the case, then was that a good use of money? I don't know. I mean, if they spent $7 million and, I don't know, 100,000 people start going to church, is that I don't know. I don't even, how do you quantify something like that? How do you, I mean, I actually know one of the dudes over there, so I'm just going to go ask him, actually.
All right.
I'm going to be like, hey, bro, how did you guys quantify if this was even, I'm literally going to text him and ask him.
Yeah.
But, yeah. I understand why things like that are happening in that space, based on the way our world is headed and the way our world is being shaped.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't necessarily know it. I know we've got to engage in that space. How we engage in that space, I don't know. And maybe that's like Spirit of God lead us in engaging in this space.
Yeah.
And it's like all different types of people doing their thing for the sake of the gospel, trying to hear God and do their thing for God in the way that God has shaped them, like the kingdom of God always has, right? There's different ministries out there doing different things in different ways, in different contexts. And maybe it's the same thing for the technological airwaves, for social media, and we leave it at that.
That's fair.
You know what I mean? I don't know.
That's fair. It's very hard to really tackle, but I'm glad we started the discussion though, because even when I think about, like in the sense of art, Gen Z is very into art. You know, they're very artistic, and you know, the way they express themselves through painting and aesthetics is very interesting, bro. It's a beautiful thing, and because it's their thing, you know, and I respect that, and it's so dope. and I think that's a world we can enter in through. I think we can enter in the world of art. I think we can enter in the world of beauty. You know, we was listening to that YouTube. We was listening to when Jordan Peterson and Bishop Barron. Please listen to that. Good Lord. Bishop Barron believes that, which I agree with him, because look, I believe that beauty, the perception of beauty is always subjective, but what makes beauty objective is the experience, right? And me and you can see two different cars, right? You see a black Lamborghini. I see a black Porsche, and or a white Porsche, whatever. They're both beautiful cars, and we subjectively see it a different way, but we're both having the same experience.
Yeah, I get you.
Right. And so
beauty is objective in the sense that it is an experience that human beings actually have.
Right. And that beauty itself draws you to the wonder of it. And I think that, like, the way Gen Z draws out the beauty of art, that is something that is to be looked at. Right. I think that's something that we can enter into and help them to see beauty itself, you know? And so understanding these worlds that they live in.
Art in like a technological sense, or do you mean art in like in the world, physical realm, touch, taste, see, smell, sense? Or both?
I mean both.
Okay.
I mean both. I mean, especially in the in technology, social media. I mean, this AI stuff is crazy, and so I mean, you can create anything you like on social media. But I think, in a sense
that's part of the problem, though.
I think it's what do you mean?
That we can create anything we like.
Absolutely,
The
it's a
lack
problem.
of limitation.
I think. Oh yeah. I mean, it's the escape of virtue, right? And so, yeah, I do agree with that. But what I'm talking about in the sense of is, man, that's a good point. What I'm talking about in the sense of is your life.
Okay.
You know, you can create a beautiful life in a sense of character and love, even in your own, the way you dress and things of that nature. I'm just saying we have a way to connect with them.
Yeah. Because the reason why I was bringing that up, like as you were talking, is because it made me think of like telos, and it made me think of the beauty. I think beauty there's a way that it's experienced in nature and reality.
Yes.
And then the input concerning the senses in the physical world. Like I'm purposefully excluding the technological world right now.
Yeah.
The digital world. There's a beauty that's experienced there that I don't think can be replicated. And I actually think that part of the problem is that young people don't experience the beauty of existence, of creation, of reality. And that's why they want to escape to the technological world, because they can create a world that they want to live in. And once again, I think this is a discipleship issue. And it's an issue of culture too, like their culture.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think one of the ways that we can actually help them escape the meaninglessness that they feel is to help them ground themselves back in reality.
Yeah.
Like the awe of, I think about South Mountain and standing up there at night when the lights come on and you can see across the whole city. Or, I think about being in Flagstaff and, like the snow, or, you know what I'm saying? Like, or going to the Grand Canyon or whatever, like whatever sites obviously we have in Arizona, and then you have them, in all other parts of the country and the world as well. And like, there's these moments when you're like experiencing those things and you're just like, wow, like that beauty communicates to you that there's something far greater than you, right?
Yes.
And so once again, I think that needs to be experienced in the physical realm.
Yep.
And
Agreed.
I think that will help ground them in reality again. And I think that actually opens the door for opportunities to have conversation about the transcendent.
Yeah. Agreed.
So that's where I was bringing that up.
That's a good point. Help them see truth and love. Yeah,
yep.
I agree. Beauty is, I think that's going to be the next podcast. I think there's something there, man. That's
Beauty's
deep.
a hard one.
Huh?
Beauty's a hard one.
Beauty's a hard one, but I think it's very connecting because, again, I think it's not subjective in experience, but it's just subjective in perception. But I think that the experience of beauty is what draws them to the divine, is what can draw them to the divine.
I agree.
Yeah.
100%.
That's a good one. Yeah.
Which I think also for like influences out there, I think that's why for like, it's funny. I never used to like camp. So like, youth pastors take their kids to camp. And for a while there was a conversation about like, is camp useful? And like, I think there's two things in my mind that have settled for me that camp is incredibly useful and purposeful. Number one, you get to spend about a year's worth of time with a young person in a week. Because if you think about it, if you see them for 1 hour, an hour and a half a week, 52 weeks out of the year, let's just go an hour and a half, 90 minutes. Let's just go 2 hours. That's 104 hours a year, right? If your service is 2 hours. Some people have 2 services a week. So let's say, let's be generous, 208 hours. Like how many hours are there in a week? 24 times 7, 120, 168 hours in a week, right? So you can spend, like, if you take a kid to camp, and obviously like there's sleep, right?
Yeah.
But you can essentially spend a year's worth of time with a student in a week, right? It's an incredible amount of time for relationship building, conversation, influence, like, and then also I think too, getting them out of where they're from, getting their phone out of their hand, and getting them in a camp where there's nature, where there's water, where there's trees, where there's, it can be an incredibly powerful experience. Yeah. Grounding them back in reality.
It can.
Right. And so
Facts.
I think that for that reason, camp is an incredibly powerful tool. Maybe it's an even more powerful tool than it has been because of postmodern, post-Christian, technological.
Yeah.
Maybe it's more powerful now than it ever has been. Just a thought. So I would definitely say to influencers out there, like, if you have the opportunities to get these kids out of their phones and in nature, take them to places where they can experience beauty and transcendence that is not through their phone. Because like the phone, like I don't know how else to call it, but it almost is like a false beauty and a false transcendence.
Artificial.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's the perfect term, because that actually is factually true.
Yeah.
But it's artificial.
Yeah. It is.
So yeah.
I think we can land the plane here, man. I think it was a good dialogue. I do want to continue it on the idea of the wonder of beauty. I think it's very important, because even when we when we first experienced God, and like, man, the beauty drew us in.
Yep.
It messed us up.
Yep. The good, the true.
Yep. And so, yeah, man, this was a good conversation, man. And remember, y'all, this is the beginning and not the beginning of the conversation, not the end, right?
Yep.
We want to thank you for everybody who follows us, subscribes to us, man. Like and subscribe.
Appreciate y'all.
Leave comments down below, man. Let's try to have a conversation. And
I definitely need y'all to give me some feedback, because I need to know if Chris is wrong for just randomly appearing and drinking the coffee first. Like, I need an answer. So if somebody
even if you make the coffee first,
you have to let them eat it first.
Hold on, wait, say it again. Say it again.
If somebody buys something, right? Like they bring it in the house, you gotta let them eat it first. Right? Or drink it first or whatever. I feel like that's fair. Just saying. Y'all let me know if I'm wrong.
We can discuss the rules.
We can.
That's fine.
I just want to know what the internet thinks. That's all.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
All right.
Cool. All right. We love you guys. We'll talk to you soon. Peace.